welcome to the Sourcepass Digital Transformation webinar today, From Risk to Readiness, Key Steps to Upgrading to Windows 11. I'll be co-hosting today, VP of Marketing and Communications, Dave DelVecchio. And with us today is one of our vCIOs, Rob Villano. Rob, next slide, please. Rob's driving the deck today. As you can tell, I am not Steve Cirillo. Steve was originally scheduled to be Rob's wingman today, but had a family emergency come up. So I'm gladly pinch hitting as I and my team helped with Rob and Steve putting together the content for today. But as I said, Dave DelVecchio, VP of Marketing, been a 30-year IT veteran. As we'll talk about as we go through the deck a little bit, the broader aspect of today's session is not something that's new. We've been through several of these operating system replacement projects in the past, and Rob and I will help provide some color to that as we go forward. This is a continuation of our digital transformation webinar series. We run these the fourth Wednesday of the month quite typically. We did move one to a Tuesday a couple months ago out of necessity, but do keep an eye out. This is our thought leadership series where we try to help those who are making strategic decisions for their business and arm them with more information to contemplate as they decide the right path for their organizations. We also run a learning series webinar, which runs the second Wednesday of the month. And if you're looking for either online or in-person events that Sourcepass is putting on, please visit our sourcepass.com events page. As a matter of fact, next slide, Rob. We've got an in-person event coming to almost every market in which we have one of our offices over the next couple of months, kicking off with Pittsfield, Massachusetts next week at Proprietors Lodge. Hope to see some of you there. But hit our events page and keep an eye on your inbox for emailed invites, or you might get a phone call from your client success manager about joining us at one of our upcoming sessions. We hope all of you can come out and help support us and support the events, all of which are going to be receiving a local charitable donation based upon the number of attendees who come to our sessions. So not only will it be a good time to meet some of the extended Sourcepass team, but also provide a little bit of feel-good give back to the local communities. So a little bit of webinar housekeeping as we get kicked off here. The Q&A should be active. If you have questions along the way, please go ahead and post your questions in the Q&A section. And if we don't get to them in line during the course of the presentation, we'll review any that have been unaddressed towards the end of the session. Also, you'll be receiving an email following this webinar with a survey, and we ask that you take the time to please complete that so that we can receive feedback on the content presented today, as well as if you have any ideas for future subjects you'd like to see us present on in the future. Your feedback is very important to us, and we appreciate you taking the time in advance to help provide us that guidance. So today we'll be talking a little bit about Windows 11 and Windows 11 upgrades, and particularly the drive based on Windows 10 being end of support. So we'll talk a little bit about the overview of the situation and the benefits of upgrading. We'll talk about how to best prioritize based upon your business needs, maximizing your return on investment so that any current infrastructure and future purchases are done so with the big picture plan in mind. And then we'll provide some tips and tricks for planning and executing an upgrade project. So with that overview, I'll turn the floor over to Rob, who will drive the technical aspect of the discussion. Rob, floor is yours.
Thanks a lot, Dave, and appreciate that. And welcome, everyone. So we'll talk and begin with the overview of the Windows 11 upgrade. So by October 14th of this year, and it's not too far away, Windows 10 will reach end of support. Microsoft has announced that they will no longer support the Windows 10 operating system. So what does that mean? Well, free software updates, any technical assistance or security fixes are no longer in scope after 10.14. And so that's significant these days because, with security being such a key focus and cybersecurity protection being such a key focus, that's a significant and showstopper for organizations and requires due diligence to make the transition to Windows 11. Microsoft notes that while your PC may still function, it may become increasingly vulnerable to security risks and compatibility issues. So it's really important that plans are in place to move and migrate to Windows 11 by that October 14th date. And so how to prepare? Upgrading to Windows 11, like any new upgrade of a platform, takes a significant planning and due diligence. The diligence comes in from a perspective of evaluating your hardware, making sure that your PC can support Windows 11. It does have requirements. We'll speak to those later on. And you may need to make an investment in new hardware. So that's another consideration from a budget perspective. Before you do any of this migration to a new platform, it's always important to back up your data. Things can go wrong, and it's important that that data is available and can be recovered. So what are the benefits of upgrading to Windows 11? One of the key benefits, perhaps the most important benefit, is the advanced security features to safeguard your data and enhance your overall system security. Microsoft has introduced what's called a Trusted Platform module. This is a piece of software and hardware that allows for secure booting mechanisms for your PC, so that only secure code that's been verified actually boots your PC. There have been a number of stories or headlines with regard to malware infecting the overall boot process of a PC. Microsoft took note of this years ago and inserted this trusted platform module to prevent that moving forward. And so that perhaps is the most important feature of this upgrade. What is, though, a requirement is to ensure that your hardware supports this trusted platform module. So Microsoft has offered a PC health check that can identify, and it can be run by way of script in your organization to understand if your PC meets those requirements. With any platform or any new update, improved performance can be expected, and certainly that's the case with Windows 11. You can expect faster boot times, improved application performance, and enhanced system responsiveness. The integration with Microsoft services is more tightly woven. You'll see that with Microsoft 365 or with the Microsoft browser, Edge. All those things come into focus when you have a new platform update. There are new platform, or I should say enhanced productivity tools, such as remote desktop, and support for Hyper-V in the professional version, where you can manage virtual machines. There's certainly better management and deployment tools available for you with tightly woven group policy and Windows Update for Business. And as Microsoft often does with new updates, they integrate or implement, I should say, a more modern user interface. So you can expect that. There's a more compact taskbar with more functionality and better availability for checking your application status and the like.
We'll be talking more about the impact on end users as we move forward, but I know personally when in our internal IT team, shout out to Josh Banyez and my personal Windows 11 upgrade Sherpa, Thomas Marquardt from our internal IT team, when we went through our upgrade internally, the first thing you notice is now there's a center search bar. It's not in the left-hand corner, it's now in the center. So there are some user interface differences that at first glance make the initial use be a little bit intimidating, but the intuitiveness of the interface, I think, has made a major step forward. Once you get over that first reaction, I actually found it to be quite an easy transition, but we'll talk a little bit later on about some resources available and ways that we can help you get your user base prepared for the transition to the new look and feel of Windows 11 as well.
And there's a couple of features that I'll bring up as well, Dave, that I think are really slick, and I use them regularly, so we'll talk about that as well. So how to prioritize hardware replacements. First and foremost, you want to conduct a full hardware and OS assessment. As I mentioned earlier, Microsoft has offered a tool to do so. You want to make sure that your hardware is compatible with the new version of the update, Windows 11. You can get a report by running the Microsoft tool. Prioritize critical systems is always important when you migrate to a new platform. What systems are out there that are important for you, handling sensitive data through whether you're in a regulated industry or not. And so that's important. You want to explore pricing. You can do that with us on evaluating your existing vendor partnerships for best options on new hardware and services. And then finally, scheduling a phased approach to your hardware update. That's really important because you may find things along the way that will help you to complete your overall migration to the new operating system as well as hardware. So these are all best practices with regard to how to prioritize hardware replacements. So maximizing return on investment on new hardware. Here, improve performance and productivity is a focus. Better performance always leads to increased or improved productivity. You can think of improved processing speeds, more efficient multitasking, and even reduced downtime with the stability of the new update. That only translates into reduced maintenance costs for organizations. So with new hardware, you should benefit by not having such costly repairs or new maintenance. You also get the benefit of new warranties and support capabilities, reducing financial burden. So, and as we've talked about a few times now, and it's a repeated theme, there's enhanced security with this Windows 11 update. And in fact, there's additional future scalability through the use of new hardware where you can accommodate future growth and allow for smoother transitions as your business evolves. How do you plan and execute the upgrade? First and foremost, I would say let's not wait till 10/14/25. I say that tongue in cheek. It's approaching, and it's approaching quickly. Plan needs to be in place so that you're comfortable with doing the migration or having someone do it for you. We recommend, and certainly Sourcepass has a great deal of experience, working with an experienced vendor to do the heavy lifting for you. It's both a hardware lifecycle as well as a software implementation. That's right in what we do on a day-to-day basis. It can help you along that way. And you certainly, as I mentioned, want to create an execution plan, an upgrade to Windows 11 on eligible machines, prioritize your critical machines, and then develop that phased approach so it's not a hit or miss, and you can develop experience in doing so in that limited phased approach. A couple FAQs here, right? So we thought to offer these to spur some thinking, some thought about what you can expect or what has been out there in the community and what our customers are asking us. And so first question is, I have an application the vendor says will not be Windows 11 ready by the end of service deadline, and that's that October 14 date. What are my options? Microsoft has implemented or allowed for what they're calling a compatibility mode. It's a feature to emulate different environments to allow the application to run normally. This needs to be tested. Not all applications are eligible, but certainly it acts as an option to allow for that transition to Windows 11. Our next FAQ is, what are the minimum hardware requirements for Windows 11? This is a really good one. We've gotten this quite frequently. As we know, it's a prerequisite, the hardware requirements. Here's a full list as offered by Microsoft. Pretty straightforward. In this day and age, a 1 gigahertz processor or greater is pretty standard. 4 gigs of RAM is very much so achievable, and certainly 64 gigs of storage. So Microsoft has made it not onerous on users or on organizations as far as hardware robustness, if you will. So from that perspective, pretty straightforward from a hardware perspective. What is important is the unified extensible firmware interface. You need to have a trusted platform module on your by way of your motherboard, and you need to enable that TPM 2.0 on your PC. And then finally, Windows 11 will allow for that secure boot environment so that when you boot up, only secure code is run and you have a safe and secure environment on which to boot from.
Yeah, and as we were discussing these requirements before the session, there's a few points that we started talking about in regards to some of these requirements. First of all, if you need help in determining what of your devices may or may not qualify to run Windows 11, we can, if your Sourcepass helps support you from a managed services engagement standpoint, we can often generate inventory results that will help you determine what systems would be possible to upgrade versus which ones should be targeted to replace. But if you think back to pre-pandemic, the golden era of 2018, 2019, this is a whole scenario that those of you that were in the roles that you're in today that are talking about the subject might remember was eerily similar, which was when Windows 7 was going end of support and Windows 10 was the new kid on the block. And a lot of the devices, Windows 10 was really the first platform that really took advantage of some of the technologies that relied on things like the TPM modules. But what ended up happening immediately after a lot of our clients went through similar upgrade projects to replace Windows 7 devices with what were Windows 10 devices was the pandemic. And if you recall, in the early days and even middle days of the pandemic, there were a lot of older devices that had been replaced, laptops specifically, notebook computers, mobile devices that had been put into piles deemed for recycling in a closet somewhere that were suddenly pressed back into action because businesses needed to mobilize a remote workforce as quickly as possible and pulled some of those old Windows 7 devices out of closets and pressed them into the field. There are still clients who shall remain nameless, will protect the guilty, that continue to run some of the not only older Windows 10 devices, but Windows 7 devices out in the field as well. If you panic bought devices in 2020, there's a good chance that some of those might still be able to handle the upgrade requirements to Windows 11. But as many of you have learned to acknowledge, there is a 5-year usability life cycle typically for most endpoints, laptops and PCs. Sometimes you can get a 6th or 7th year if it's in a low demand role. But typically speaking, if you're looking at your inventory and it was bought either at the early days of the pandemic or prior, you probably want to look at replacing and not upgrading that device, not only because it's an older device, but because it may not meet all of these requirements of Windows 11.
Makes sense. Thanks for that, Dave. So as we move along, another FAQ that we wanted to approach is, will my employees need training to use Windows 11? And so what we've offered here to our clients, the answer to that is yes. In many cases, your employees may need some training to use it effectively. At Sourcepass, we've created a Getting Started with Windows 11 tutorial. These are pro tips for the upcoming upgrade. It's a learning series webinar. We'll provide the links to you for that, but it's a really helpful guide as to what best tips are available for the upgrade, and we're happy to deliver that to you.
Yep. In fact, actually, I'll get that link and pop it in the chat for everybody. It's available on our video library page. If you scroll down the page to the learning series, it was just run earlier this month, and it is available for on-demand viewing through our video library. You can also gain access to other digital transformation webinars. So if you missed one that ran earlier this year or last year, those are available there as well. In regards to the Windows 11 topic, as October's deadline draws more near, we will be planning to run at least one additional webinar that talks about the Windows 11 topic, so that if you have users that are a little bit panicked and or need a little bit of extra support in understanding the intricacies of working with the new OS, we're going to provide that to you so that you can get your users trained up and comfortable with the transition.
And then another question comes in for as frequently asked, can I roll back to Windows 10 if I don't like Windows 11? Well, you can. There is a time limit. Within 10 days, you can use what Microsoft is calling the go back option in recovery settings. After 10 days, you need to perform a clean install of Windows 10. So for many of us that were administrators or worked with computers, things go wrong. Sometimes applications don't work. Sometimes maybe something gets corrupted, or in general, it just didn't function as planned. So Microsoft has provided this option. You can roll it back and then, again, attempt the new update.
So Rob, I got a question for you. We'll kick off our Q&A questions. And so if anybody has a question and you want to use the Q&A feature of the webinar, please feel free to do so. But as a Windows 11 user, I'll ask you first, and then I'll offer something from my perspective. What's your favorite feature of Windows 11?
Well, there's that snap window feature. I hope I'm referring to the term properly, where you can actually organize windows on your monitor.
Yep.
And they have a preset, configurations. I really like that because with many documents open at one time and with multiple monitor setups these days, it's really a slick feature that you get to organize them so you can see all at once. And when you're modifying documents and you're trying to use multiple documents, it's an excellent feature. I'm glad they included that.
Yeah, actually, I'll echo that. That was going to be one I was going to offer, but I'll offer another one instead. But the ability to position windows on the fly, if you drag a window up to the top of the screen,
yes,
it'll give you some pre-form templates
yes,
to if you want to put it on the left side, and then it will prompt you, well, what do you want to put on the right side? Or I want to do quadrants, or I want to basically split up. So if you have a larger format display as a secondary display, for example, you can maximize the real estate and really put anywhere from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 and so on windows in a bigger display. I'm working from home today. I've got a 27-inch monitor on my sidecar here off of my laptop, so I take advantage of that quite a bit. When I'm in the office, I have two 24-inch monitors, one on each side. I typically just put one thing on each one of those monitors because I need all 24 inches for my aging eyes. But yeah, when I'm working on a big screen sidecar like I'm working on today, that split screen feature is phenomenal. As Rob mentioned earlier, another big feature is much tighter integration with your 365 universe. And so if your organization is a Microsoft-centric organization like ours, having the quick access feature to get into Teams, for example, out of the toolbar comes in really handy because I'm jumping in and out of Teams all day. And so, with the Microsoft universe, building kind of a tight user experience, they've tried to make the transition between operating system and application a little bit more seamless and intuitive for users. So I enjoy that a great deal as well.
That's a really good point, Dave. All of the tools are tightly woven into the new OS update. OneNote, Teams, Microsoft Edge, the browser, it's all tightly wrapped within the Microsoft ecosystem, if you will. And I really like it because you can see everything in front of you, and just we're in Teams all the time. I like to use OneNote to organize my documents or content for documents. So it works well together. It really does.
Nice. So one last call. If anybody's got a question, please use the Q&A. But I'll offer a parting shot, and then Rob, I'll offer you the same opportunity. Rob touched on it earlier, but if there's one piece of advice I want to impart with everybody is, to Rob's point, the calendar is going to go by very quickly this year, and it's going to be September, October before you blink. If you don't get the upgrade process in place and you still have Windows 10 in your environment, unless you have an enterprise agreement, you cannot buy extended support. When Windows 7 went into support, there was an option where you could buy extended support on an annual basis. The price went up in year 2 and 3, but they made extended updates available for up to 3 years on a pay-to-play scenario. The rules are constantly evolving as they sit right now. The only clients that Microsoft said they're going to make extensions available to are for those clients who get their operating system licensing through an enterprise agreement, which is very rare. I would almost be willing to say none of our clients, but if there aren't any, I'll just say almost all, because I don't know. I didn't look into it to give the global, but it's very rare for companies to buy operating system licensing through an enterprise agreement. So unless you explicitly know you have it, it's in your best interest to get a plan in place to get your upgrades done before October. And just from a capacity standpoint, we're not going to be able to do them all after Labor Day. So we're asking our clients to help us help you a little bit. And if it's something you need to tackle, let's get a conversation going and get a plan in place sooner rather than later.
Yeah, really good point there, Dave. And what I would offer as well for our clients is there's nothing wrong with doing a pilot test, if you will, of some of your hardware updates, as well as migrating to the new OS for particular applications, ensuring that they're functioning as intended, and that users will be accepting the new migration to the OS. Rolling out a few of these goes a long way to developing a comprehensive plan, one that you know will function and work when you need it to. So a thought there as well.
Awesome. So, Rob, thanks very much for leading the technical aspect of the discussion today. I want to also offer a shout out to Kat, who's on the back end as usual, and is helping with the back end coordination. She just added the SurveyMonkey chat, I believe. Oh, wait a minute, Kat, you might have put that into our chat, not the everyone chat. But keep an eye out for Kat for the survey. In addition to the in-person events that we talked about coming up, we do have a Learning Series webinar coming up on April 9th, where we're going to be talking about some of the extended applications in the Microsoft 365 universe, things like Planner and Viva Engage and bookings and so forth. So I hope you can join us on April 9th for that. And I also hope to see you in one of our upcoming in-person events. Thanks very much for joining us today. Rob, thanks again. And everybody have a great Wednesday.
You're welcome, Dave. Thanks, everyone.